It's finally happening. My 100-day project is here. Introducing 100 Days of Watercolor Mindfulness. In this video, I want to share the inspiration behind the project, what my previous 100-day projects have looked like, and the reason why I'm going live to make this project happen. The inspiration. So this is a long time coming since I published my Skillshare class in 2021 about this, because the more and more I grew in my watercolor skills, the less connected I felt at times. And I felt more and more pressure to turn my creative pursuits into business ventures rather than enjoying the act of creating. Because of my personality traits of needing validation and affirmation, and because I started my creative journey on Instagram, a social media platform, I felt like I really needed to hear from my followers. I needed those likes, I needed those follows. And as my watercolor skills improved, I felt this pressure to please other people rather than create for myself. So that's why I want to do this project. I want to practice what I preach, because I do practice mindfulness while I'm painting. And I want you to see how it plays out in real time, because you don't really see that when you take my workshops or learn from my tutorials. And I'm going to come back to this because it's related to why I'm going live rather than showing static photos and time lapses. Let me fill you in on my previous 100-day projects. Since I started my creative pursuit in 2016, I've done two 100-day projects. The first one was around April 2017, and I did 100 days of watercolor wreaths. Man, do I love wreaths. And if you've been following me for a while, you know that too. I started out really simple because, like I said, it was in the beginning days of my journey. I didn't really know how to sketch. I barely had a grasp on watercolor basic techniques. And so the skills are pretty basic, the shapes are easily recognizable, and this really isn't that bad for someone just starting on their watercolor journey. And as I became more confident and wanting to challenge my skills, I decided to do a wreath of sea creatures. So I did stingrays, koi fish, dolphins, etc. And these were so much fun. Then I wanted to go back to doing florals and nature, but I didn't want to do a typical kind of wreath. I wanted to aim for semi-realism. So I found a book of A through Z florals from the library, and I decided to follow that book page by page. I studied the flower, sketched it in a circular form, and these are some of my favorites from this project. If there's anything that consistency and practice teaches you, it's that you can improve. The second time I did a 100-day project, it wasn't necessarily dubbed as a 100-day project. It was in 2021 during the pandemic, and I wanted to just get back into the habit of painting regularly. I was emerging from a really painful time in my life and simultaneously wanted to relaunch my business. So instead of putting pressure on myself and naming it 100 days of something, I just decided to take it month by month, and I designated a different theme for each month. I started off with florals, of course, again, and then wreaths, and then I wanted to challenge myself yet again. So I decided to paint some animals with a little bit more realism and houseplants. Towards the end of the year, I revisited sea creatures, and then I did a subject that I thought that I could never do, which was birds. This was super difficult because I did not know how to sketch. I didn't go to art school, so I didn't learn the proper proportions of animals or, just figures. So good thing I have the iPad so that I can sketch without having to waste a ton of paper. So focusing on a topic for an entire month was really helpful for me because it didn't give me the pressure that I had to create something every single day. And giving myself a theme allowed myself to freely explore within that theme. So having a little bit of structure, but not feeling so restricted. So let's tie this back into the current 100-day project. There are a few reasons why this project is especially special. First, I'm not going to focus on a topic, meaning I'm not going to focus on a specific subject. So instead of a subject guiding me, I'm going to first come from a place of mindfulness. What that means is that in that moment, I'm going to tap into my feelings, my thoughts, my surroundings, and then paint from there. And if that leads to a topic or subject, then that's great. And if not, that's okay too. Second, each day of the project is going to be filmed live. Unfortunately, I can't keep to a daily live stream schedule because I just couldn't find a time in the evening on a consistent basis where I could be live. So I'm not going to put that pressure on myself, and instead I'm going to choose to go live a few times a week. And it may end up taking more than 6 months or so to get up to 100 days, and that's okay. Mindfulness is not a race. It's not about getting to the 100th day. It's about what I'm learning each day that takes me there. So every week on Sunday evening, I'm going to announce through the community tab which days I'm going to go live, but in general, it's going to be around 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. And I really hope you can join me. You can paint live with me, or you can just sit back, relax, and enjoy. Each session will be about 15 to 30 minutes, and I'm going to start with a breathing exercise and take you through my thoughts on what I'm feeling, what I'm going to paint, how I'm going to paint it, etc. And the purpose of all of that is to encourage you to take the same approach when you are painting. We're often too consumed with what the end result is going to look like, or overwhelmed by all the things we have yet to paint, or already stopping ourselves because of worries and doubt. So I like to start with a breathing exercise to center myself, acknowledge where I am, and then I can paint from a place of peace. I also think that this inside look on how I approach painting will help demystify what you see all over the internet. You see time lapses and tutorials without much mention of what's going on in the artist's head. Because as you paint, I'm sure you have a lot of thoughts going through your mind. So I want to help break that barrier between you and me and be honest about how difficult it is to paint sometimes, or how joyful it can be sometimes. And during these live streams, if you do show up live, I'd love to help answer any questions. And that will, again, help break that barrier between us. I really don't know how this project is going to unfold, but I am excited to reflect at the end of it and throughout, and for you to be on this journey with me. So join me live or catch the recording later, and I hope you will grow in mindfulness this year using watercolors as a helpful tool. If you are going to join me live, leave a comment saying, I want to be more mindful with watercolor, and that'll help me stay motivated too. Like this video, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next time.